Thank you. I'm used to asking people if they can hear me because during COVID, on Skype, can you hear me? Okay. I am Phumudzo Ramabulana. I am a project manager for early detection and rapid response in the city of Cape Town. So under that program, the polyphagous shuttle borer project was also dumped on that, unfortunately. So for those who don't know or who have not seen what happens, inside the tree as a result of the polyphagous shuttle borer, that picture there, that's what it looks like. So that's why trees eventually die. That's a cross-section of an infested Isanegundo, a box elder species, which is it's a very favorite reproductive host of the borer. Now, my introduction is a little bit of a timeline. You'll see 2017, we had not, or before then, we have not heard about the polyphagous shuttle borer, or in Cape Town at least. And then in KZN, that's when it was discovered and identified that it's present in the country. And then 2018, we started hearing a lot of reports across South Africa, especially in Johannesburg, that it is devastating trees in that area. And then at the same time, we had reports that it's in George and Knysna and English oaks are dying. So we thought, the constant movement of people between George and Knysna every weekend would be very wrong to think that it is not in Cape Town. So what we did, we decided to look for it. So that's how the program was initiated, or this borer was added on the list of species that we need to be in the lookout for in the city of Cape Town. So we started a reporting tool online so that people can report whatever symptoms they see in the trees that they think are shuttle borer. And then what we did was to go out after each and every report to verify hundreds of trees, to look at hundreds of trees and see whether it is affected or not. And then that started in 2019, January. So we received a lot of reports between between January and April. And then in that time, in Somerset West, that's when we came across a tree and we thought this is really affected. So samples were taken. University of Stellenbosch assisted with that DNA sequencing. And in April, they confirmed that it is shuttle borer. So that's when we knew in April 2019 that it's in the city of Cape Town. So we, at the same time, then we started developing a species management protocol that Chandra spoke about on how we can go about trying to contain the beetle in the Somerset West area. So, like you said, Dr. Luke Potgieter helped a lot with that. So we used a lot of information from California and Israel because they've had it for much longer. And there was not much yet in South Africa on how to go about it, or at least example of projects within the country of what they've done. So we decided that we are going to try and contain it. So that is our main goal with this species in the city of Cape Town, to contain it in Somerset West, because at the time we knew that it is at least not reported in all other suburbs in the city of Cape Town. So to do that, we continued with checking all the trees, all the reports that people send, whether you're in Blauberg or in Gordons Bay or in Simonstown, we send people or we go and verify those reports. And then we also deployed teams, so part of the EPWP skills development and other EPWP projects, we deployed people on the ground to survey the entire Somerset West area to look at every single tree in a public open space and also in many of the private properties, just to understand how far and wide within Somerset West it has gone. And then we also did a lot of awareness and communication, so that we can keep on getting a lot of reports, because even if the strategy or the goal is containment in the beginning, but we also didn't know if it was somewhere there in maybe Company Gardens in all those English oaks, of which we got a report there and we surveyed every single tree there in 2020. I think over 300 English oaks, and they were not affected, at least. And then at the same time, so all this was happening at the same time, because we immediately, when we found it in May, we started doing the surveys, still continue with the checking of the reports, and also removing highly infested reproductive hosts. So for those who are not sure about reproductive and unreproductive, so reproductive hosts are those host species that the beetle can breed in. So, and then the fertile beetles will emerge, and the population will grow. And so those species are likely to die from the beetle. And what would happen is branches will start falling. A person can take a branch and transport it to Stellenbosch or anywhere, or sell it off to somebody as firewood, and that will facilitate the spread of the beetle. So that's why we went for this reproductive host species. So part of the protocol, for those who have not seen it, when we did the protocol, we shared it to anyone nationally. And we did it in consultation with FABI, who are the really leading guys when it comes to the invasive short-haul borer beetle. So it's a bit of a decision-making tree to what to look for and what to do when you find. So, for instance, So for those, there was a question earlier about how can you see this. So just going back to the picture. So if you can see with a tree, if you monitor the tree, usually when something went in, a tree will respond with sometimes a frass or a gum. So if you see gumming in the tree and you peel the bark and you see something like that with a hole and just a little bit of a fungal staining around it, so those are some of the telltale signs of the polyphagous short-haul borer. And also, that's just another example of what the beetle does, because when it bores in, it continues to bore tunnels inside the tree, and the fungi will grow because it only feeds on the fungi, the fusarium. So it will grow, and that process eventually kills the trees. So some of this, we adopted some of the things that they do in California, but we only chose things that are applicable for Cape Town. For instance, cutting and solarizing. If you don't have space and you've got 1,000 trees to remove, where are you gonna solarize? So we decided that a very simple, although difficult in the background, is to fell. So one of the telltale signs, if you look at that English oak, you can see those branches, a branch die back as a result of the fusarium fungus. So we go and fell the entire tree. So as part of the decision-making tree will say whether the tree is only affected in the branches or in the trunk. But what we found in Cape Town was probably 99% of the trees, the beetle went for the trunk. So even if you find it on the branches, there is no point in just removing the branches, especially with reproductive hosts. So when we do this, we have a chipper and a truck, and at the same time, so we don't cut and wait for tomorrow to remove the material, because most of the beetles are still inside. So chipping actually kills most of the beetles, so that's why we chip on site. So a question usually comes, if you're chipping and then they will fly over, so why can't you go and do it elsewhere? But we rather do it in an area where we know the beetle is already there than going to chip elsewhere, because we might introduce it to a new area. So that's why we chip on site, and we chip onto a closed truck. Biomass is a massive problem, so luckily at the same time we managed to get a company, Sustainable Heating, that would take the chipped material. So they use that to produce electricity further. So we take it to a facility like this. So that's the very first day when we went to dump. So this facility is in Milnerton. So that's another risk that we have to manage, because we couldn't find any site in Somerset West or closer. So we have to go and take this biomass some 70 kilometers away. And then this facility, they immediately take those chips. So it's a very secure environment, and it's in a more industrial area, so there are no trees around, and the route that they use, N2, N7, straight to that, there is little risk of spillage or into other reproductive hosts. So that's basically what we do. It's very difficult to do maybe for a contractor, because the cost of just managing biomass, some private landowners are not able to take. It would be much easier if you are chipping and disposing somewhere closer in Somerset West, but at this point we don't have that solution yet. And then from all the walks that we've done, so we had guys walking every day in Somerset West, looking at trees, looking at private properties. So this is Somerset West. So where we have shaded, that's where we have literally walked, and the dots show where we found trees. So the beetle is everywhere in Somerset West, and then the pink shows they're not removed, and the apple blue shows the trees that we've removed. So our main priority is removing highly reproductive hosts, and now since 2019, the conditions of the tree also matter as part of that, because a tree that has got 90% branch dieback, you want to remove it as soon as possible, as opposed to a tree with, a few holes, but it's still very much alive, because the risk of leaving an almost dead tree is, with strong winds, it might fall, and we don't know what people will do with just fallen branches and where they might end up. So the reason for a lot of pink not removed is, as I said in the beginning, reproductive hosts, non-reproductive hosts. So there are a lot of non-reproductive hosts, and those we don't remove because the beetle doesn't breed, and they are unlikely to die unless they are under stress, which is another caveat. So if a tree is stressed and it's a non-reproductive host, it can become a reproductive host, which is another problem because of the drought in Cape Town and trees that are very old. You can imagine even the English oaks, although they are reproductive, but some of them are also very old, so they are likely to die very fast. So you can see, so that is the main road within Somerset West, so the M9, and then the N2. So just below that, between M9 and the N2, there's just a few reports, and most of those are the box elder species or the Asa negundo. And then there are a lot of challenges. This is just a WhatsApp text that I got from one of the members of the public. So somebody showed up and they showed them that and said, that is a short-haul borer, you've got to remove that very quickly. So we had a lot of people, I don't want to call them arborists, but who went around and say, your tree is affected, we have to remove it, but only to find out that it is not. Luckily, Paul Baker called them out sometime on the radio, and that seemed to have stopped. So at least with this one, we were able to say, there's nothing to worry about. You don't have the beetle, and that was somewhere in Milnerton, and they were even told that the beetle is there, so the tree had to be removed. So because of the worry, some people took advantage, because some of the people would be likely to agree to a tree being removed, although it is not affected. And this is just one example of what people are doing to save the trees. This tree, we eventually removed it. It's a box elder. It was beyond saving. A lot of money was spent buying that equipment and injecting. We don't know what was injected, but there was just but there is a lot of this in Somerset West right now happening. Now you even find people literally spraying on the streets, even on trees that belongs to the city, just spraying chemicals. So, and some are just painting. There's all sorts of buckets being injected. So it's a very big challenge, because what it does, the promise that a tree will be saved, even for trees that you can see are beyond saving. So people don't want to remove that tree, and they wait until it literally falls. And usually that is an emergency, and if we are not there to take care of that, so any contractor would, and we don't know where it will end up. So that is one of the biggest challenges that we face. This is an elephant in the room, biomass, because there's a lot of trees that are being affected, because we're looking at, with our records, we've recorded just over 3,000, but that's just our records. And there's a lot of properties where you can see, but you don't get access, because we don't always get access to private properties to look at these trees. So you can triple that number with the number of trees that are affected. So there's already a lot of players. It's not only us who are removing. Because there's pressure to remove. Sometimes even when it's just one hole, people want to remove the tree. So they get private contractors, and the challenge of handling biomass means that one contractor may sell that as firewood or just dump it somewhere, and then we don't know what would happen. So when we were struggling because the facility that we use also has other suppliers, so sometimes we don't get to dump our chips there. So as a temporary measure, we chipped the stuff in plastics inside the bale bags, and that's just a month. Just in a month, we had that many. So everywhere you see that is all material, chipped material from just Somerset West, just in a month. And luckily, after that month, we were able to take that. So that material is being used for our value-added programs. We have a project, I wish Chandra would have mentioned it, so where we take biomass from invasive species, not only cut trees not only from the shuttle borer affected trees, but from all other operations that we run. And then we turn that into building material. So most of that went into that. But yeah, biomass is a very big challenge, and I hope that with engagements and with other sister departments and all other role players, we will solve that, because if we don't, then it is going to spread elsewhere. So with our containment strategy, as of yesterday, and to my knowledge, the beetle has not escaped, or at least affected any other suburb in Cape Town, except just Somerset West. But it being in Stellenbosch, it might, so we have to be on the lookout for the northern suburbs mainly, as monitoring to see what is going on, how is the movement. Because some of the probably operations happening in Stellenbosch, they might just end up in Brackenfell or Durbanville or such areas. So we're planning a management training workshop with many other role players, mainly for people who are involved in the actual cutting of trees, and people who are maybe in the nursery industries and all that. It will be in Helderberg. I just didn't have the date, but it will be communicated. It will be done through SEGIC, so Kay will share more information on that. Just to touch on best practices and to assure the public of City of Cape Town that, the people who will be coming to them know what to do. Because some of the people are worried about what other contractors will do with the material, and they also don't want to spread or participate in spreading the beetle. Since we started in 2019, we had not updated our management protocol. So I think by the end of this month, we would have updated the second version and sent it through, because we use a lot of the experiences within our operations to update it. And then we'll intensify our monitoring. I've put the box elder in red because I would really like everyone to be on the lookout for that one. The beetle nails that very fast and it dies quickly. But it spreads, it helps the beetle spreads much faster. And then the English oaks, of course, there's a lot of English oaks in the city of Cape Town. Like I mentioned, Company Gardens, it's all English oaks. So we have to be on the lookout for those. And London Plains. So it's just unfortunate that these trees, they are everywhere in the city of Cape Town. So even on its own, the beetle can slowly move. It's not a very fast beetle, it moves very slowly. So the vector and the pathway is us. Transporting wood uncovered, which is affected, the beetle can fly. You only need one fertile female beetle to start a whole new colony. Thank you.